3X, Lex, Triple X, back in the office, guys. Chief Product Engineer, CEO of 3X Tech, reporting for duty, gentlemen. All right, guys, I'm back here today to give you even more in-depth view of the base Odroid N2 Plus build for the base Dragon Slayer arcade cabinet. This is the base power level. Again, as I mentioned before, this has about a 50% power increase over the standard Raspberry Pi 4. We've overclocked it. It's performing great. It emulates up to PlayStation Portable, and the performance is outstanding. It's the best quality emulation I've seen up to that platform and below, pretty much. In a lot of ways, the quality of this build surpasses these platforms in my experiences when I had my older Hyperspin system and I used to play it out of these platforms. I could still see inconsistencies, but this Batocera build is so good. Pretty much everything I've tested so far has been really, really on point, especially like the Dreamcast and PlayStation Portable and the more demanding games. This build is going to be available. The standard model is going to come with a 256 gigabyte image. There will be an upgrade for a 512 gigabyte image, and there's also going to be another upgrade for a 1 terabyte image. And those are going to be the three options to select on the Odroid power level, the entry level power level. So the higher end 512 and terabyte models are going to include, the terabyte model is going to include a lot of the older PC platforms. A lot of the older PC platforms are going to be included on there. Commodore, Amiga, those type, Sinclair, those type of platforms. And as you go up to the 1 terabyte, what's going to be included on there will be everything from the 512, and it's going to be all the way up to adding more, it's going to add more and more Dreamcast, PlayStation Portable, and PlayStation 1 games. So you're going to see those in abundance. The terabyte drive is going to probably have around 400 PSP games, close to 400 Dreamcast games. This is going to have a smorgasbord of titles for those compact disc based formats. So that's going to be very nice. Pricing for that will be put out real soon once I give a grand reveal of everything. So that's something to keep a close eye out for. But in the meantime, to give a deeper dive to this Odroid build, the image quality and sound quality of this image is fantastic. Tons of arcade games. The primary difference between the three builds that you're going to see is, as I've mentioned before, you're going to get a lot more PlayStation Portable games and Dreamcast games. That number is going to go way up to when you go to the 512, and when you go to the terabyte, it's going to go even higher. So it's going to really max out at that point. So a lot of the platforms that are hard to run, like Sega Saturn and N64, all of the games run great on this particular system. Like really, really demanding games like Radiant Silvergun is very, very, very demanding. Very demanding game for Saturn. That game runs fantastic. And since it's upscale, it pretty much looks as good as the main version of that game. It's pretty much was running on the same hardware. STV was pretty much a Saturn just with more memory, but it was pretty much a Sega Saturn. So again, hey, I've talked about Radiant Silvergun in extreme detail. Phenomenal game. This is kind of like somewhat you could say the prequel to Radiant Silvergun. I'm sorry, the prequel to Ikaruga. My mistake. It's the prequel to Ikaruga, a treasure shooter. They made this before on Saturn. Originally, I believe the development, it started out as a sequel. Ikaruga did as a sequel to Radiant Silvergun, but they ended up going with the color system. And I've showed off Ikaruga a lot, so I won't do a deep dive into that. But I know I've talked about Radiant Silvergun before. It's a fantastic game. And this Saturn version was top notch. I believe it had a few more extras and downloadable extras and characters that could be added to this game. But it looks great. It's upscale. Saturn games are running full speed. This system tackles N64 and Saturn phenomenally. So, and this is very demanding game. And to be clear, under PSP, Saturn is probably the most demanding system to emulate. That design of that system was very, very complex and unusual. I believe it was designed as a 2D system only at first, and then they seen the upcoming shift to 3D and kind of added in some 3D architecture late. So it has a weird design, and therefore it was very difficult to emulate. So you really need some horsepower, and the Pi 4 even overclocked is nowhere near the power needed for this game. So it looks great for an old mid to late 90s shooter. It looks really good. So see, we're definitely running full speed here. Of course, all the standard MAME games run great. That's kind of to be expected. Those games aren't really that demanding. One thing that is missing from this build, though, that you're going to have to move to the upgraded power level, it doesn't have the 3D MAME game, so we've been able to get good results with the 3D MAME games, like NFL Blitz, San Francisco Rush 2049, games of that ilk. We've been able to get those Tekken Tag Tournament, Tekken 3, we've been able to get the main versions of those games running great on the upgraded power level over the Odroid. And they work great, but MAME 3D was a little bit too tall of a task for the Odroid. That actually takes a significant amount of power to get that stuff running pretty good and well beyond what these single board computers can do right now. So that isn't going to be included in this trim level. So the cool thing is a lot of those games though that are 3D MAME, they all have ports to systems, and those games, pretty much most of them are available on other platforms. Like Radiant Silvergun was a 3D MAME game. It's on here. Shogun Rentai, 3D MAME game. It's on here. NFL Blitz is on Dreamcast, so you still have a chance to play these games, so that's not really a deal breaker if that's something you're looking for. Something else that I wanted to give you guys a breakdown of too. One other thing I wanted to mention also is to keep in mind that I know a lot of people have asked about it, but N64 is great. This 512 gigabyte version has 303 games for N64. I know it's a lot of N64 fans. Wasn't one of my favorite systems. I was more of a GameCube Wii guy, but I know back in the 90s, this stuff was incredibly popular, so I definitely get it. Hey, they definitely had their time and everything, so you know, I definitely get that. Definitely had their fans. Still think it was a mistake for them to go with a cartridge-based format at that time. Everybody was shifting to disc. Disc made the most sense. Had they went disc, this system would have like completely ruled and took over the game. They basically end up running into a lot of bottlenecks, and at that time the hardware was great for when it came out. Can't end up coming out like a year late though. From what they originally planned, hardware was very good for that era, but the cartridge format ended up being a bottleneck, and you know, they were really limited space-wise on what they could do, and that really ended up being a bottleneck for them. So it kind of caused a lot of people, Square and a lot of other companies, to jump ship. So that was kind of a killer. But it was still pretty damn successful, just not as successful as it could have been. Playing the old F-Zero X. Anybody that watches this channel know I'm a huge F-Zero fan. We're definitely running full speed here. Again, N64 was another oddball design, so it was a lot harder to emulate that. That's why Dreamcast is ultimately probably 15 times more powerful than this system, yet it's way easier to emulate. The design and architecture was a lot more straightforward. So this is a lot easier to emulate. I've talked about that a lot. I'm gonna have to do a deep dive because I've done so much research and emulation over the last few months and testing devices and everything. I think you guys would be really interested in drop a comment below if you want me to do an in-depth long emulation breakdown video explaining the different systems, the hardware, why things are hard to emulate, the different platforms. And hey, I could talk about that stuff all day. I've done so much research and what exactly is needed to make these platforms run great. You know, I'd be very interested in hearing that. I mean, I'd be very interested in doing that if you guys are interested in hearing it. So definitely. Hey, look at that first place. So hey, yeah, F-Zero X, definitely not one of the easier games to emulate. It's a great game. Definitely check this out. Unfortunately, this build doesn't have GameCube, so if you're a big F-Zero fan, this is definitely worth checking out because it's a great game. It was a big upgrade over the Super Nintendo and Game Boy Advance versions of F-Zero, which I really liked. But gameplay wise, it's pretty close to GX and AX, which was like on the GameCube and arcade. So this was a big upgrade at the time for when this came out on N64. So if you can't play that and you're into F-Zero, you definitely want to check this out. I still definitely enjoy it, and it's a great game. And with this platform, no real issues emulating it. So it's pretty much at full speed. It's been upscaled. And this is an impressive feat. This was a very impressive game because this had like 20 different vehicles on screen, winding tracks. I mean, from when this game came out, it was like a real technical tour de force, though, to be honest. This game also made good use of the energy bar, as you can use it for boost. Woo, first place. That was a close one. Yeah, so you definitely want to check out F-Zero X. Again, phenomenal game. Huge fan of that. Also, I'd like to mention, I think I mentioned this last video, but this build, the Odroid build, is available also from Retro Night. So, you know, if you're interested in this build also, you can contact Retro Night. He definitely has it. So it's a great build too. So you definitely want to check that out if you have interest in this build. Outside of getting the Dragon Slayer. Let's check out Star Fox. Pretty demanding game. Fairly demanding game to emulate. I remember this game even on the overclocked Lex build for the Pi 4. I remember this game still having a level of slowdown that definitely wasn't there in the original. Very familiar with this game. Definitely one of my favorite space shooters ever. Maybe my favorite 3D space shooter ever. So, big Star Fox fan. Graphics look great.
Check your diffuser system. Falco here. I'm fine. This is Chevy. All systems go.
Flippy here. I'm okay.
I see him up ahead. Let's rock and roll. Flippy, get back here. Flippy, watch out. Don't be on your tail.
Remember, this game came with the Rumble Pack. That was like kind of a first for that era too. And that was a big deal back then.
We're entering Corneria City now. This is horrible. Everybody stay alert.
All right, guys, that's Star Fox. Hey, guys, 3x to the Lex out, and I'll get with you on the next one. Peace.